For this sweater, I used Lion Brand Heartland yarn. It's a 4-weight yarn in Petrified Forest, Wolf Trap, and Yosemite. And I used a 6mm crochet hook for most of it. I used a 5mm for the edging and for the optional cuff. I made this sweater for my daughter-in-law, Becca, who gets weekly IV infusions. And this was a good pattern to use for leaving an opening at the sleeve where she can just unbutton it and not have to take the whole sweater off. She preferred to have a cuff on it, so if you want to make a cuff, look at the written instructions, my pattern at I-crochet.com. The video instructions include making this with no cuff. I think you'll enjoy it. For the sleeve, I chained 58, which is a multiple of 14 plus 2, and it will give me an 18-inch sleeve. So now our row 1. You're going to work in the back bumps. Your color A is always going to be the same part of the pattern. We're going to start, if you don't know where the back bump is, we're going to go in the second chain from the hook. Not this one, but this one. To find your back bump, turn it over, and it's that horizontal bar right there. So I'm going to make a single crochet and another single crochet. We're going to go all in the back bumps. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it will give you a nicer finish. Easier to sew into or easier to place your buttons. So 2 single crochet. This is the only time that you're going to do 2 single crochet in this particular part of the pattern. At the beginning, the very beginning of the row, and the very end of the row. Other than that, it's going to be 3. The single crochets will get 3, the treble crochets will get 3. So 2 single crochet. Now we're going to go with 2 half double crochet, which is 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3. So that was 1. I'm used to working with chunky yarn, bulky yarn, so to get the camera angles right here. So I have 2 single crochet, 2 half double crochet. Now we're going to move into 2 double crochet, going up the hill. 1, 2. The half double crochets and the double crochets will always be in pairs. You'll always do 2 at a time. Now 3 treble crochet around your hook 2 times. I'm going into that back bump. We're going to do 1, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Kind of tighten that up there 2 times. This is my second treble crochet. Pull through. You have 4 loops on your hook. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Tighten it up. 1 more. We need 3 treble crochet. Okay, we're going to go back down the hill now. See how it's going up? Back down the hill. The next back bump. So the next shorter stitch would be the double crochet. It's always going to be 2. 2 double crochet. And then the next shorter stitch after that is a half double crochet. So 2 half double crochet. 1, 2, and now 3 single crochet. The rest of the way across all the trebles and all the singles will be 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go back up. We went up and down, and now we're going back up. So the next taller stitch after the single crochet is a half double crochet. So 2 half double crochet, because now we know it's always 2 with the half double and the double. 2 half double. The next tallest stitch is a double. Going up that hill. 2 double, 1 and 2. And the tallest stitch is the treble, so remember to go around twice. And you just have to remember to pull through 2 loops at a time. So that was 1. Oop, gotta remember to pull it through 2. That was 2. Still going in that back bump, but you don't absolutely have to. I do recommend it. And that was 3. And now we're coming back down the hill. So the next shorter stitch is double crochet. So 2, always 2 double crochet. And the next shorter stitch after that is half double crochet, 2 half double. And then the shortest stitch is going to be the single crochet in the middle of the pattern. It will always be 3. The only time you do 2 single crochets at the beginning and at the end. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going back up the hill. Let's see what our pattern's looking like. So the next taller stitch is half double. Give me 2 of those. And then double. You can always fast forward this. You just want to continue on. And I'll meet you at the end of the row. So there's 2 double. Even taller. We need to go to the top of our hill. 3 trebles. 2. And this is our 3rd treble. 2 double, because we're going down the hill now. And that's shorter than a treble. The next shorter stitch would be the half double. We need 2 of those. And then the shortest stitch would be the single. And we need 3 of those because we're not at the end yet. 1, we're getting close though. 2 and 3 singles. Going back up the hill. We just came down. 2 half doubles. 2 double. 3 treble. 1, 2, 3. That was my first one. I was just counting how many times I go through the loops. And this is my 3rd treble crochet. You should have 6 stitches left at the end here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay! It worked out. Going back down the hill. 2 double. 1, 2, 2 half double. 1, 2, and we're going to end with 2 single. Began the row with 2 single, and we end the row with 2 single crochet. And there you go. This is what it should look like. And yes, there will be some gaps here because trebles are really tall stitches, but it looks nice when it's all said and done. Chain 1. There will always be a row of single crochet between your wavy row in the same color. Go in that very, very first stitch, single crochet. Every stitch after that, go through the full stitch, single crochet, every single stitch. Go single crochet all the way across. That just helps form your wave. I'll meet you at the end of this row. At the end of row 2, you should be looking something like this. This is my color A, Petrified Forest. It's really a deep green. It's looking darker than that in this lighting. So the last stitch, begin your single crochet, but don't complete it. Leave your 2 loops there. Your color A is always going to be the pattern rows 1 and 2. Your colors B and C, if you're following my pattern, will always be rows 3 and 4. We're going to carry our yarn up along because this is the edge that's going to be sewn to the armhole, so whatever yarn you're pulling up won't show. It'll be hidden. Pull through. Now row 1 started with 2 single crochet. Row 3 is going to start with 2 treble crochet. Normally the patterns would have you chain 3 for your first treble crochet, but I didn't like that because it left too much of a gap for sewing the armhole. All right, so that's going to help bring this up the side for you. Just keep it loose. So no chain, don't chain at all. We are going to make a stacked single crochet. People do this a lot for double crochets. I'm doing it for a treble, which means we're going to have 3 single crochet. 1, and to stack the next one, go into that left loop, pull through. There's your second single crochet. That will be considered a double crochet. Now come in that left loop again, pull through, and complete another single crochet. So that's a stack of 3 single crochets, and it's going to substitute for your first treble crochet. The important thing to remember is to go into that very, very first stitch. Sometimes it's kind of hiding there, and also no chain, don't chain. All right, so here's your second treble. This is a half a hill. Instead of a whole section here, it's going to be starts here. 2 treble. Now we're going to go downhill. 2 double. I'm just carrying that tail behind me. I'm going to drop it now. 2 half double because we're going down the hill. 3 single. You'll know you're in the right spot if your 3 singles are going on top of the 3 trebles from 2 rows below. And so I am correct. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to go up a hill again. So the next higher stitch is half double crochet. We want 2 of those. And 2 double. Half double and double are always in pairs. We're going back up the hill, so we want 3 trebles, which should be on top of your 3 single crochet from 2 rows below. That's how you can check and make sure you're in the right spot. 1 treble, 2 treble, and 3 treble. And go back down the hill, and if you're not sure, you went down and you went up. Now you're going back down. 2 double, 2 half double, 3 single. Should be on top of my 3 trebles from below, and I am. All right, going back up, 2 half doubles, 2 double, 3 trebles, which should be on top of my single crochets, and they are. Remember to wrap twice. You should have 4 loops. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. That was 1. That's 2. And 3 trebles. The trebles will always be flanked by 2 double crochet, and the singles will always be flanked by 2 half double crochet. All right. That was my 2 trebles, so I need 2, we're going back down, 2 double, 1, 2, 2 half double, 3 single. I'm on top of my trebles, so I know I'm in the right spot. 2 and 3 single, half double, 2 half double, 2 double, I'm on top of my singles, so I need 3 treble on top of 3 singles. 1, 2, 3, going back down, 2 double, 1, 2, 2 half double, 1, 2, 3 single, and they are indeed on top of my 3 trebles from below. 1, 2, 3, 2 halves, 2 double, and we're going to end the row like we began with 2 treble. Pull that kind of tight. Chain 1, and row 4 is single crochet in each and every stitch across. Make sure you're coming into that very first stitch. So single crochet, oops, all the way across. I'm at the end of row 4. Remember, the last stitch is this stacked single crochet, which substituted for a treble crochet. So start your single crochet in the top, but don't complete it. Bring this over so you can carry it up. Move that yarn aside. If you're following my pattern, I switched back to color A, and because I am just doing single crochet, For the first 2 stitches, I am going to chain 1. So we're going to repeat that pattern. All right, we're going to switch back to the rows 1 and 2, our color A. Wrap your color B, grab your color A, bring it through, chain 1. It is easier to keep it from tangling if you turn this way. It keeps your yarn behind you. I didn't do that in the last row, the last change of color. All right, this is exactly the same as row 1 and 2. You start with your 2 single crochet, 1, 2, going up the hill now. Make sure you go in that whole stitch, half double, pull my yarn through here, 2 half double, so I have 2 single, 2 half double, 2 double. Goodness, there we go. Going up the hill, and 3 treble, which will be on top of our single crochets from 2 rows below. These are all single crochet in the row below. So continue this pattern. If you're not sure, go back and look at rows 1 and 2. It's exactly the same. You'll be going up and down and up and down. I'll meet you at the end of this wave stitch when we're ready to switch over to color C. Confused, like, oh, where am I supposed to be? As long as you're following the pattern and you have color A in between, you can look down to the previous color and see, oh, I started with single crochets. And with colors B and then C, you know, oh, I need to start with trebles. So let's bring both those colors over the hook just to carry it along. You can weave those in if you prefer. I just didn't care to weave in that many ends. Bring my color C along. You can certainly go with 2 colors if you prefer. This is just how I chose to do it. Now remember, don't chain. I like doing the stacked single crochet instead of the chain 3. Like I said, the chain 3 just leaves way too much of a gap for sewing the seams. And when you're coming back around and you need to make a single crochet on top of that, it's going to be a lot easier to find your stitch rather than having to go into the top of the chain. So that was 1 single crochet, go into the left loop, your second single crochet, go into the left loop, and your third, and that's going to count as a treble. You can pull these down, but like I said, not too tight because that's going to be your seaming edge. So if you get confused, go back and look at rows 2 and 3. It's going to be exactly the same. It starts with 2 trebles, going down because it's just a half a wave, 2 doubles, continue to go down, 2 half doubles, and you'll know your half double. You'll know you're in the right spot if your next 3 single crochets are on top of your trebles from below. It's just a really good way to check yourself and make sure you're in the same or the right spot. You're following the pattern. You haven't missed anything. So continue on. When you get to the end of the row, chain 1, come back with all single crochet. I'm going to change color again. You're going to go back to color A if you're following my pattern. So just keep reviewing. If you get lost, go back. This row 1 and 2. This is row 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. I will meet you back here when I'm finished with my sleeves and show you how to sew the sleeve seam, or how to partially sew it and leave it open from the elbow down for some buttons, if that's what you prefer to do. Okay, I put the edges of my sleeve together where the seam will go. And as you can see, the taller part of one wave fits into the shorter part of the wave on the other side. I'm having it on the smooth side instead of that textured side. That would also look really nice. I just decided to go with the smooth side. I made my yarn. It's at least twice as long as the sleeve, maybe closer to 3. I actually had a really long piece. Use a needle. I didn't need to use one that was quite this large, but it's what I had on hand, and it also shows up well. So come across, I just tied it on with a knot. Go into the loop that's closest to the middle. Come in from the middle and out towards you. Now on the other side, again, go into the loop that's closest to the middle and go out. And you're just going to do that all the way down. I'm only going part way because I'm leaving an opening from the elbow down. And I'll figure out later how to do the buttons just to make it easy for getting infusions or lab work. You know, you just don't want to take off your sweater. Becca gets really cold during the infusions. The reason I made her cuffs also was because she uses hand warmers, battery operated hand warmers, while she's there to help keep her warm. And with the long cuff with the I made a thumb hole for her. She can hold her hand warmers without hurting her hands. So continue this, I think it's called a mattress stitch. This might be a modified mattress stitch. It's just what worked for me and made it look fairly invisible. This particular pattern lends itself well to being seamed together. So again, go in from the center. Find the loop that's closest, just part of the loop. You don't want to go into the whole loop, just on one side of the loop, the one that's closest to the center, pull it out towards you. On this side. On the other side, you pull it away from you. But every time you're going in from the center and out. You can tighten this up. If you tighten it up too much, it'll pucker, but then you can just loosen it up a bit. Every few inches, I check it, tighten it up. Try to make sure you go into the center of that stitch. Every now and then I did grab a little bit of the stitch, but it didn't seem to make a huge difference. All right, I think you have it. If you're just making a sleeve without an opening, continue all the way down. You will not need any kind of border on the end of this sleeve. And as I said, if you want to make a cuff, I did not do a video for that, but you can find the written pattern on my website at I-crochet.com, and that'll help you out. Okay, I found that when I go to seam the pieces together, it worked a whole lot better if I had single crochets along the row before I seamed them together. And what worked best for me on that single crochet row was to go into that first, the loop, and then in and make a single crochet, just one on every one of the color A rows, and then 3 single crochet on the B and C rows with the treble crochets at the end. So 1 single crochet in the color A row and 3, doesn't matter exactly where you place them, on the others. Okay, for both of the front panels, to make a 22-inch long sweater, I chained 72. You're not going to need any border, and you're just really following the same 4-row repeat pattern for the sleeve. I did include in my free written pattern, and I have it right here as well, the average size that you would need per panel. And I also gave you some information on how to make the front and back panels match up better than what I made, although I'm pretty happy with mine, so it's okay. But as always, go find my free patterns at I-crochet.com. All right, let's go. Okay, again, here are the measurements for the back panel. It is on my website, the free pattern. You're going to chain 72 again for a 22-inch long sweater, and here are the sizes. Okay, I've already sewn the right front panel on, and that's what your seam is going to end up looking like if you choose to do it this way. Like I said, I did it without the single crochets. It looked okay, but I just wasn't crazy about it. So I left that long tail. I cut a really long piece of yarn, and I just went in and out. I just wove this in and out, matched up my front panel with my back panel, and if you'll recall, I didn't think it through that these colors would not match up, but I'm okay with that. I can live with it. If I were to do it again, I would probably change it. Okay, just for this corner, I'm going to go in the whole stitch. I have a really long piece of yarn. Okay, and I'm going to come across, line my stitches up, and just in the back loop of this side, come in from the middle and out towards you. And in the next one, that's going to be your front loop, the one that's closest to you, come in from the middle and out away from you. You're always coming in from the middle. You can go through the whole stitch if you want to. I like the way this ended up looking. With just going in one loop instead of two. It looked more purposeful to me. If you're not sure where you were, kind of messed that one up. Hang on. I left one little straggler out there. So if you're not sure which stitch, look and see where you came out of. So I'm going to go into this next one, just the loop closest to me, in from the middle and out. Here's my next one, in from the middle and towards me, in from the middle, away from me, and in from the middle towards me. And you know, this doesn't really happen with the bulky yarn. However, I wanted this to drape really nicely. I probably should have come down one, but I'll catch that when I come around. Ideally, you want a bigger gap here. I probably could have come over 1 or 2 rows. You can figure how you want to. I'm not going to make a great big border, just enough to finish it off. So continue on, and this is what you're going to do on both sides. Ooh, you can hear the thunder. And I will meet you when I'm ready to seam up the sides. Okay, before I sew my sleeve on, there's my bottom seam of my sleeve. I went ahead and made a row of single crochet around just to make it much easier to sew it together. This is my front panel, my front left panel, my top seam. I just want to measure it, that's all. And then I want to make sure I'm on the same spot. There's my very top stitch. There's my very top stitch. My bottom stitch right there. The stitch marker. There they go. Okay. Both sides. And now I know how far up to make my side seam. And then I will come back and put my sleeve on. Now both sleeves are going to be the same because I did the same thing, 2 single crochets when I began. I made my edge, and then 3 into the long stitch, and then 1 here, and then 3, and then 1 here, and on down. So both sleeve openings are going to be exactly the same. So I'm just going to measure the other sleeve opening off of this one. So there's the top. I do have a few ends that I need to weave in. Bring this over, make sure I find my very top stitch. Make sure these are together. Top stitch, top stitch. And pattern follows along that wave. And just below where it dips down here. Stitch marker. And go through both sides. You can check again after you seam up one side. You can count your stitches if you'd like. Make sure you have the same number. Okay, now let's get back to seaming up the side. I left a long tail on one side. I left a long tail somewhere. I think it might have been on the sleeve. All right, well, let's find some yarn then. Here we go. I'm going to make it a little more than twice as long as what I need. Hope that's enough. Before I had too much. Get my needle. I could have used a much smaller needle, but I usually work with bulky yarn, so this is what I had. Okay. I want to make sure I put my sides together. I'm on the right side, what I consider the right side. Goodness gracious, we got a lot of glare here. I'm going to start on this side, just bring it through at the very, very bottom stitch. And I'm just going to tie a knot. That bottom edge, don't need to do anything to it. It's a finished edge. If you want it to be tighter, you can go ahead and put a border on it just like the cuff, and it will be identical to the cuff. You would just start at one corner of one of the front panels, make your chains, do your single crochet back loop only, and you're on your way. I'm going to come through the full stitch on just this very first stitch. Now we're going to start that pattern again. I'm going to go under from the middle and out in that stitch that's closest to me. Find the one that matches over here, from the middle and towards me, middle and out, from the middle towards me, from the middle and away from me. And as you go, you can tighten it up. If you get it too tight, just pull on it, loosen it up a bit. We're going to come back and weave these ends in, and I can even up that edge. Do a few more stitches just to show you. It's just not going to show. Quite amazing. It's not my favorite part. I'm not crazy about sewing. I used to sew a lot, but I find I have to take everything out and it makes a big mess. Put everything away or just leave it out and have a big mess. With crochet, you can contain the mess a bit more, except for the fact that I have so much yarn and so many projects, and so many more in my head. I just enjoy it more. So that's going to be what it will look like all the way up the side. It will look quite nice. That's what it looks like in the back. Pretty much disappears. So go all the way up to your stitch marker and do that on the other side. And then we'll be ready to put our sleeves on. All right, I joined my sleeve at the stitch marker and I simply followed the same stitch pattern, going in from the middle into half of that stitch, finding the stitch across that matches up. If you feel you need to, count the stitches, make sure you have the same number. I did not do that and it worked out. It was, for me, it was more the measurement. I think I have 10.5 inches from the shoulder down to the armpit, just to make sure it was nice and roomy. So you're just following the same pattern. You can see where having the single crochets made that a lot easier. And then it's quite easy to work into the wave part of the pattern. So just continue on and do that for both sleeves. All right, I'm ready to finish off my front edge and around the neckline. I will say I did not leave much room here. It will be okay, but it would be better if it was further out. I could have either made my back panel wider or taken off a row or two on each side of the front panels. And I should have done that. But I tried it on and it's going to be okay. You would be happier if you had a bigger gap here. At least 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches would be ideal. So we're just going to do single crochets. And I like to do them so that the back side of the crochet, the single crochet, is what shows. So find the bottom corner of your left front panel. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Come down, find your very bottom stitch. Make sure you're coming through 2 loops so you're nice and even. I'm using a slip knot to join, but you could just join with a knot. Doesn't really matter. Pull that through. Get your chain around here. We can work that in so we don't have to weave it in. Go in that very, very same stitch with a single crochet, and that's your first single crochet, and that is all we're going to do all the way around. Find your next. That one's pretty tight. A single crochet. As I said, I'm working over that tail. There's my next. Just a very simple finish. I didn't want to finish with anything fancy and compete. I already went in that stitch. If you're not sure, just tug on it. You can see where it's coming out of that stitch. Anyway, I wanted to maintain that wave pattern. And then this next one, you can keep your stitches fairly loose. The important thing is to keep them even. If you're going to go with tight stitches, go with tight stitches all the way. If it's going to be loose, make it loose all the way. See how this is just cuter on this edge? You could do it the other way if you want to, and you end up with your cute little V stitches, but I prefer this. It looks a little more finished to me. All right, I'm just going to cut that tail. Make sure when you're cutting you don't get anywhere close to your stitches, because it's incredibly sad if you cut into a crochet stitch. I've done it. I'm extremely careful. I think I'd rather cut my finger than cut a crochet stitch. It's something that I've been working on. So again, make sure you don't go into the same stitch twice. Go into your next one. And that's it. You're just going to go all the way around. When you get up to the shoulder seam, it won't be quite so clear where your stitches are, but you should have one stitch on either side of the seam. And again, just make sure however many stitches you put on one side, do the same thing on the other side. Symmetry is very important. All right, I'm sure you're getting bored with seeing me. That's just going to give you a lovely little finished edge. If you wanted to leave it like that, you could, but you'd still need to finish off around the neckline. So I think you'll be happy with this. If you wanted to straighten out, you could. If you wanted to make bigger, maybe half double crochet stitches around the edge, you could. If you want to make buttonholes, you could. This is how I'm finishing it. I am just trying to keep it simple. All right, I'll meet you at the end. All right, I have finished my edging. I'm at the bottom of the right front panel. I think it finished it off just enough. Made it a little more sturdy, a little more secure. Like I said, that's how it looks on the back. And so all I'm going to do now is cut my yarn, leave a little bit of a tail for weaving in. You don't have to do a chain one so that you can make that little knot to secure it. I just like to weave it in to give myself a better edge there. So weave it in, and voila, you're done. This is how it ended up looking around the neckline and all the way down to the other side. I am going to use a towel and a steam iron. Don't let the iron touch your yarn. It will flatten it out and it'll never come back to shape. But if you have a towel over it, it is best if you use a white towel, just so you don't have any color bleed. I'm just going to lightly steam it, which is going to help where you have the gaps, which you can't help but have some with these treble stitches, just because they're so tall and they leave a little bit of a gap. But if you steam it, put the towel on it, steam it a little bit with the iron, don't press hard, just get a little steam through, pick it up, and then just use your hand and kind of flatten it just a little bit, just a tiny bit. Also, when you wash and dry it, it'll kind of even out. It's the way it's supposed to be, because that's how you get your tall stitches. All right, I'm going to make sure all my ends are woven in. There shouldn't be too many. And I'll take some pictures. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. If you liked it, please leave me a comment. Any feedback is welcome, as long as it's helpful and polite. I'm not an expert. Like I said, this is my first sweater pattern that I'm sharing with people. I'm just a retired teacher, likes to crochet, and I still like to teach. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you would, so you can see the rest of my free patterns. This pattern, written pattern, will be on my website, www.i-crochet.com. All my patterns are free and there are no ads because I find them very annoying. Thanks a lot.
Right. When you look at the sweater, if you did leave an opening for infusions, that's the thumb hole so that she can hold on to her hand warmer. And all I ended up doing, I left the opening from about the elbow down. That's where I stopped my seam. I probably could have come down a little bit further. I put a button on the low side over here and just ran it through between the treble stitches. And I did that here too. I only needed 2. And she's pretty much just going to use this for when she does go get the infusions. But I think it came out pretty cute. Normally, let's see. That's the inside seam. You're not really going to see it a whole lot. Those are balloon sleeves because the end is kind of wide. And that's what she likes. So hopefully you like it too. And if you know somebody who does have to get infusions, I think they'd really enjoy this. And if you don't want to make it for infusions, just sew up that seam. And that's a really super cute vintage looking sweater. Enjoy.